Hello, Facebook friends and family and YouTube fellow YouTubers. Max R. Rogers doing another book review here. This one is on How I Made $2 million in the Stock Market by Nicolas Darvas. First of all, before I get into this, I want to apologize for the last video. I did get some verbal feedback from some friends and stuff on my previous video about how it sounded like I rambled on and how all I did was complain about Canada. That was my video on Nomad Capitalist by Andrew Henderson, and my point in using Canada as an example is that I am a Canadian and I can really only use Canada as a reference. And I thought what I would do is give you a review on the Nomad Capitalist book from a Canadian point of view as a beginner, as a beginner's point of view. My apologies if I rambled on. If you have any hints or comments or suggestions on how to improve my videos, please comment below and let me know what you think. I mean, I can't improve, and I'm not making any money off these videos. All I'm doing is having fun and making a maybe I'm making a minor contribution for sharing my input. Anyways, this video I am having a Don Tomas, where are we here? Don Tomas Maduro. This is the Churchill size. And a Grouch, just to go with it. So anyways, if I was rambling on in the last video, someone mentioned that I rambled on and all I did was bash Canada and say how shitty it was to live in Canada. It wasn't really my point. My point was to kind of share my point of view from a Canadian perspective. But anyways, getting back to my book review, this book review is on How I Made $2 Million in the Stock Market by Nicolas Darvas. And this guy made $2 million in the stock market in 1957 or 58, in a number of, maybe I think it was 5 years. In the late 50s, he made $2 million in the late 50s in the stock market. Okay, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in the 1950s. That's a huge amount of money. So, and I just want to point out that this book, I'm going to go through the table of contents to keep this video organized too, somewhat organized, because I got a complaint that my last video was all over the map. So, but anyways, this book was written in 1960. It was written in 1960. And I'll go through the table of contents so I can stay organized here. So how Nicolas Darvas got started? He was paid. He was an entertainer. That's how he made his bread and butter. He was an entertainer, and he traveled around the world doing shows. I can't remember exactly what he did for shows, but he did shows, entertainment shows, and he traveled around the world. And in Canada, he came to Canada. Nicolas Darvas was a Hungarian by birth, by the way, and he fled. He came to the United States in World War II to flee the Nazis. So he's He's a Hungarian-born American citizen. So, and he traveled around the world as a entertainer, and he was paid. One of his clients paid him with shares in a Canadian mining company in Canada when he was paid, and lo and behold, the shares that he was paid went up in value, and he was hooked. He was sold on the idea of investing. But you know what? It talks about how, and so that's how he got it started. In the first chapter, it kind of tells how he got started in investing, and the second and third chapter talks about when he got started. He made money, he sold his stock, and then after that, it was all about gambling. So he picked a stock and it would lose money, So he made a lot of money on his first stock that he got paid with, and then after that it was just he didn't have any idea what he was doing, so he was gambling, and that's why the first chapter is called The Gambler, and so second part is about fundamentalism, a fundamentalist. After that he started his strategy. He started to develop a strategy, and his strategy involved the fundamentals of the market. He would invest in companies that were growing, or that were in certain markets that were doing well, or they were the stocks of the future, stuff like that. But you know what? He still wasn't. He still hadn't figured it out, but in that point. So, the next couple of chapters are how he became a technical investor, on technical analysis. So he developed this idea, and he was traveling around the world, and the only way he could communicate with his broker is through these telegrams. And sometimes they thought he was a spy, because he'd get these telegrams that were all like letters and numbers, and he didn't make any sense to the telegram operator. But I mean, he and his broker knew exactly what they meant. So he would read he would read the Barron's newspaper where he would be able to get it, and he would read the Barron. He would get the local papers, and he just throw out the news and just read the and he used technical analysis. So what he would do is he would take the certain prices of the day, or whatever it was, the week or something, and he would put them in boxes, and the price fluctuations in boxes, and as it moved from one box to another, whether it moved up or down, it would give him an idea of where the stock was going. That coupled with volume, and we're talking about very basic trading skills or analysis that day traders use today. So this is nothing new, but and then so in the second half of the book it talks about how he made his $2 million. But chapter 6 is he in the second half of the book he calls himself the techno fundamentalist. So he combined he combined his fundamental observations plus his technical analysis, and created a strategy. And everybody knows that the successful day traders have a strategy, and they stick to the strategy. So chapter 7 is about, he puts his theory to work, and it really starts working for him. And this is where he makes, and then the next chapter is how he makes his first $500,000. And we're only talking in the span of 4 or 5 years or something like this, that all this is occurring. So, and then he has another crisis. All of a sudden he has a crisis. He thinks he's going to move. He's going to stop doing his traveling show, and he's going to move to New York and be a stock trader. And he tries it out, and he totally flops. He loses like $100 grand. Like $100 grand in the 50s. If you were to lose $100 grand, it'd be like losing $1 million today. Like, no shit. Like that's a big amount. So he quit. He goes back to his day trading strategy. So after his second crisis, and he talks about the crisis he has in the book and stuff like that, and after his second crisis, trying to be a full-on Wall Street trader, he goes back to his basic fundamental trading plan that has worked for him. It took him a while to get it back too. He didn't just switch but in the last part of the last chapter of the book, it talks about how he went from $500,000 to $2 million in a very short period of time. So that's that's basically the how. And so my review of this book is, if you're a novice investor, this is a must-read book. It gives you the basic ideas of a trading strategy, and you need that if you're going to trade. Otherwise, you might as well have a broker and just give your money to the broker and say, "Yeah, broker, go make money for me," which, quite honestly, you're not going to make any money doing that either, because if the broker could honestly make more money than you, he'd be doing it. You know, he wouldn't be doing it for you, and they don't do it for you. You know, brokers are called brokers because they're broker than you. I know it's an old Amway saying, but it's true. So again, my apologies for not my last video. If it seemed like it was a rant on Canada, or maybe it was, because, you know, honestly, I hope this video was a lot more to the point and now, you know what, I may have told you what's in the book, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and buy it and read it for yourself, because honestly, all I really gave you today was a word salad on what I interpreted in the book and how I read it and what I got out of it and stuff. But you know, honestly, I learned a lot from this book, and it's such a simple book to read too. It's not you know, it's not full of technical jargon and all that stuff. It's just, you know, his story of how he makes $2 million in a few years. So, you know, I suggest you read it, and you know what, the benefit of actually reading the book yourself is you're going to retain the information. I mean, you can watch YouTube videos all day long, and it's definitely not like reading the book and getting the meat and potatoes of the book, right? So, my next, I'm currently reading Economics for Dummies, and I'm going to be the next book review is going to be on Economics for Dummies. I'm almost halfway through this book already. I made lots of notes, and of course they're Canadian notes. So if you're offended by Canadian notes, anyways, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you have any comments to help me improve my videos, I would really appreciate that. I don't make any money off YouTube videos. You know, I'm just doing this as a hobby, and I'm doing this to maybe make a contribution and to share my point of view. I mean, I get to share my point of view this way. So, you know, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe to. I've got all kinds of different videos, and check out my favorites, my list of favorites, and there's all kinds of there's different subjects there for you to check out, and maybe you might find something that's of interest to you as well. In my favorite videos, they're all categorized. So, but anyways, thanks for watching my video. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next video. Oh, this is my February video, by the way. This is my February. I'm trying to get a book a month, read a book a month, and do a review. It's the end of February. It's February 2020. We're at the tail end of February, so I just finished this book. So the next book review will probably be the end of March, which or maybe even middle of March if I get this read before then. Anyways, thanks for watching. Check out my other videos, and cheers. Like always, enjoy.